Today we're going to talk about solving linear equations with a really cool 5-step strategy. The 5 steps are: 1. Multiply both sides of the equation by a least common denominator to eliminate fractions if they exist. 2. Use the distributive property to remove any parentheses in the equation. 3. Combine all the like terms which are on the same side of the equation. 4. Use the addition property to get those variable terms on one side of the equation. And 5. Use the multiplication property to isolate your variable. Let's start off with this example. You'll notice it has fractions. So the least common denominator of these two fractions, 2 and 5, would be 10. Here's what to do. Go ahead and put a set of parentheses around each term and place the number 10 out beside. Now, make a mental note. This is the whole number 10, and this means 10 over 1. So we are allowed to cross-cancel the 2 and the 10. 10 divided by 2, when we cross-cancel, will leave 5 over 1, which is just 5 times x. Now the next term was a whole number, so nothing cancels there. Go ahead and multiply these two numbers together. 10 times 1 is 10. Bring down the minus sign. Or you could think of that as 10 times negative 1 equals negative 10. Bring down the equals, making sure that you are careful to keep the equals in line with itself to separate the two sides of the equation. Then we will cross-cancel and divide. 10 divided by 5 is now 2. And 2 is left times x. And last but not least, 10 times 2 is 20. So we have 5x minus 10 equals 2x plus 20. There are no parentheses left, and there are no like terms on either side of this equation. So I go to the 4th step, which is to move the variables to the same side. A good rule of thumb is to take the smaller variable amount, which is positive 2, and think what is the opposite of positive 2x, and that would be negative 2x. So let's subtract 2x on both sides of the equation. Bring down that equal sign in a straight line. I am now left with 3x minus 10 equals positive 20. Now I can use the addition property to isolate the x term. The opposite of negative 10 is plus 10, so add 10 to both sides. 3x is equal to 30. I am now at the last step, which is the multiplication property. The multiplication property also says that you can divide by the coefficient 3 here. So I divide both sides of my equation with a 3. Thus, the solution is x equals 10. That is 30 divided by 3. Another example here does not have a fraction, but it does have a parenthesis. So we will use the distributive property. Negative 2 times positive 4 is negative 8x. Negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. Bring down the equal sign along with the other terms. Remember now, keep that equal sign in a straight line as much as possible. You do not have like terms on either side, but you can try to get the x terms on the same side. The smaller of the x terms is actually negative 8, because negative 8 is smaller than negative 3. So using the addition property, step 4, I will take the opposite of negative 8 and I will add 8x to both sides. Negative 3 plus 8 is equal to 5x plus 1 equals negative 4. Again, with the addition property, I can take the opposite of plus 1 and subtract 1. That leaves me with 5x equals negative 5. The last step in the strategy, I will divide by the coefficient 5. This is allowed for us to do by the multiplication property. And my answer, the solution, is negative 1. Now here is an example of an equation that has neither fractions nor parentheses. So you do not have to use steps 1 and 2 in our strategy. But jumping to step 3, I do have like terms to combine. 13x plus 2x would give me 15x. Negative 9 plus negative 5 would give me negative 14. Equals. On the right-hand side of the equation, 12x plus 2x is 14x minus 1. The problem is immediately shorter now. Going to the fourth step in the strategy, I will move the terms so that x's go to one side with the addition property. The smaller value of the x terms is 14. So the opposite of 14x is a negative 14x. So we subtract. That will leave 1x minus 14 equals negative 1. Again, with the addition property, I can eliminate the negative 14. Opposite of negative 14 is plus 14. Add that to both sides. X is equal to 13. That is my solution. One more with a fraction. Remember, if you have a fraction, find the least common denominator. The least common denominator for 12 and 4 would be 12 itself, because 4 will divide into 12. Remember to put the parentheses around the term in your equation and place the 12 outside, remembering that is the whole number 12, which is 12 over 1. Now I will place my parentheses around the 1/4, placing the 12 outside the parentheses. Place the parentheses around the number 1, placing the 12 outside. We will now cross-cancel with this least common denominator. The 12s cancel out, leaving 1 times 5x, which is 5x. The 4 cancels and divides into the 12, leaving a 3. 3 times that negative 1 is negative 3. And then last but not least, 12 times 1 is 12. By the addition property, I can add 3 to both sides of this equation. 5x equals 15. And the multiplication property gives me the right to divide the coefficient. So x equals 3 is my solution. Good luck using this simple 5-step strategy for solving linear equations.